So, you decided to get yourself a Steam controller. Well, welcome aboard. I wanted to make this as a new user guide because I've noticed, with the big sale that was going on, a lot of new people were getting into the community, and if you're just jumping straight into my tutorial videos, the newer ones, you're not really going to know what the hell's going on because it's the newer ones are more advanced user tweaks, things that I've figured out. So let's start from the beginning. We want to get the controller into Steam. How to pair it with a wireless USB receiver. I guess I'll start right away. I would say use the dongle that they provide. That gives you a lower latency connection than Bluetooth. Bluetooth was added to the controller, but that was like 3 years after it was already out. So it works, but it wasn't quite designed from the ground up to work with that connection. So use the dongle, and I would also recommend using the little cradle that comes with it. You want it pointing straight up like an antenna. That kind of gives you the best reception, the best connection to the controller. And when you plug that in, if it's not automatically doing it, this is telling you exactly what to do. You do want to go into Steam Big Picture mode. Under the controller settings, add a Steam controller. You can follow this little video, but and just in case you are completely unfamiliar, Big Picture mode is this little button over here, and that was sort of like the controller-based user interface for Steam. So I'm going to go up here to Settings, Controller Settings, and here is also where you could add other controllers if you want, but we are focusing on Steam controller. So you would want to add Steam controller and then follow the instructions, and then it'll show detected controller, like this is mine. This is a replacement from my launch version controller, so this is 2.0. Here is also where you would want to calibrate if you're noticing any issues with button presses or gyro drift. It can help to do that. And when I identify, you're going to hear when you identify, you're going to hear the chime, so you know that's the controller, which can be useful if you have a bunch of them. And then you register, the controller stays registered to your account, and really it's doing that. So anytime you turn the controller on, it is pulling the profiles that you have created for the games or that you've assigned to those games. So you're not having to change the controller bindings every time you launch the game. So it ties them to your account. Now in preferences, you can change the name, you can give it different turn on and turn off sounds. You can adjust the haptics. I usually leave that per config. Experimental rumble is one of those things that you can try out. I personally don't like it. I know some people really do enjoy that, but that it will give you, for controller-supported games, a little rumble, but the controller doesn't actually have rumble motors. So it's just kind of simulated through the haptics, and it never quite works for me. The light brightness would be the power on Steam button in the middle. Like if you can see on my little thing over there in the corner, it's that button, how brightly that lights up. So, all right. Another thing that you will want to check on is actually in desktop Steam. So exit Big Picture. So, all right, go to Settings, in-game. Use Big Picture Overlay when using Steam Input Enabled Controller from the desktop. Yes. I cannot stress that enough. Make sure that is checked. Even if you hate Big Picture mode, trust me, you want to have that enabled when you're using the controller. Because what that enables is it will let you edit controller configs while in-game and also use the radial and touch menus that show up on the screen. Like I have used those in my Arma 3 profile, in Star Citizen profile. They provide a lot of extra options for the controller, so make sure you have that checked. And it also gives you the ability to have on-screen notifications for when you're changing an action set, which is basically like in Arma. If I want to switch to my ground controls, I click a button and then I get a little on-screen notification telling me, hey, you just switched the whole controller scheme to your ground stuff. So all the controls are different now. It just gives you a little bit of feedback, so make sure you check that. Okay, so one other thing, while you are in desktop Steam, if we go to Settings, Controller, General Controller Settings, that's going to take me right back in, into that, but it launches it in like a little window. This, the controller shutdown time, that's just the idle shutdown if you set the controller down. Now, big picture configuration, this is telling you everything that the controller is doing while you're in big picture. You can edit all of that. I have tutorials on that. You can search through my tutorial playlist. So I'm not going to dig into that too much right now, but I just want to show you, just explain a little bit. You will have a different controller profile that has different button options when you're in big picture. When you're on your desktop, like I've created this whole thing for my desktop. Like left bumper is toggle magnifier. So I get out of here, left bumper. Now we zoom way in. And you can also change all of those. Guide button chord configuration. This is one that a lot of people don't even know about. So this, like I have this set up for OBS macros. And what this means is get out of there. While I'm holding that central, the Steam button, that's giving me all these extra shortcuts that I can do anytime while I'm in game, while I'm on the desktop. It gives you an entire new profile of shortcuts. So like I use this to, hit my record on OBS, mute my microphone. So like I have this set up to, when I click this right pad, I have it switch my OBS scenes. So like I hold in this button, click down, that zoomed into my other zoom in scene, just to give you an idea. But again, I'm kind of getting a little ahead of myself. I know this is all overwhelming right now. I just want to explain some of the possibilities of what you can do here. So, all right, I am in a game. Let's pause this. So now I hit the Steam button, the logo button in the middle. Controller configuration. And here would be also where I could turn on the emulate the rumble. But I go to controller configuration. Now this is using this. I haven't played this game for a long time, so this is just pulling up the profile that I used last time. And generally, if you didn't have a profile applied to this, it's just going to give you a template that Valve has made. So I push X to browse configs. You can see it's going to be like these. It's going to be a basic template for keyboard, WASD, and mouse. A basic template with gamepad. Gamepad with mouse. So gamepad with mouse and gyro would mean you're using controller bindings for everything except mouse, which will always feel smoother than other options, but the game has to support simultaneous controller and mouse inputs, which a lot of games really don't do, which is kind of frustrating. Like just recently, like the Call of Duty that I did. Call of Duty Modern Warfare does not support simultaneous controller and mouse inputs. It keeps trying to switch. It's all 100% one or the other. So I couldn't use the mouse emulation. I had to use the controller mouse emulation, which isn't quite as responsive and smooth as the mouse. And if you're not confused yet, then you haven't been paying attention, because I know, even if you're paying attention, it's confusing. But I want you to understand that when you start the game, it's going to automatically give you bindings. Those aren't necessarily good, and more often than not, they're garbage. You're going to want to change almost everything. So, the easiest thing is to go to this community on the side. Like you can see right there, mine is showing up. I wish it showed the date though, because that is actually pretty old, and I would want to change a lot of it right now. But you can go through here and check, like we click on his, it's going to give you a preview. You could push X to apply. But let's just back out of this for now, and we'll keep the one that I have. So you can see I have, this is actually before I had switched to the left pad for movement. I was kind of a late adopter to that, and now I will tell people that they should try to get used to it because it is a lot better, and this actually feels kind of clunky to me, but... So I have... This left stick has my movement for this one. We're going to change that, though. But also, just to give you an idea, this left pad has these touch. This is the radial menu, and that's not going to show up if you don't have big picture overlay working. So that's why you want to have big picture overlay. Like, I can hold that in to show the map. So alright, let's get in here and explain. Let's just go through the bindings. So let's say, well, first I'm going to export this. I'm going to save new. Let's go, we'll just go 2.0 for now. And then I'm going to save. And that's always a good thing to get into the habit of, too. Make sure you're saving. It will auto-save, but every once in a while, you know, Steam can be a little buggy, so just save. Save yourself the troubles. So, alright, let's say I want to make this bottom paddle my jump. I kind of have personally gotten used to left grip paddle for crouch, right grip paddle for jump, so let's change this. Let's go in here, delete that. I don't really want it labeled right now. We're going to change that to... So I just would click on the spacebar. Like by default, I think your big picture overlay will probably just be using the stick like that. I changed mine to be the pad, or I can use right pad as the mouse, and that's, like I was saying before, that's all stuff you can change. You can search through my tutorial playlist and find out more about that. But just if you were wondering, like, wait, why don't I have a mouse cursor? That's because I had edited my big picture overlay configuration. So, alright, we are changing this to jump. So we're just going to click on spacebar, and then we can see it's bound in here. You can push B to back out, or press the Steam button. So I push grip, the grip paddle, now I jump. So that's working. But let's explain a little bit more here. Like, here you can see I have a regular press, which is left control for crouch, and then a long press to be the map. You know, I hold that in, and that's, see, this is actually, it's not working, because they must have changed something in the... I haven't played it for a while, so they must have changed something. It's not a toggle. I could, well, yeah, let's just start going right through it. So I could make this regular press a toggle. So I click that. And now that's crouch down. But I don't really want to do that because, like, even this, it's basically staying on until I push that again. So I jump, I'm still crouching. It doesn't take me out of the crouch. So let's see what we have in here. Yeah, so there's a toggle crouch option in the game. So I'm going to rather go with that. And prone is Z. See that? Yeah, this stuff's changed. It wasn't in there. I don't even think there was prone in here before, because I didn't have it bound. But that's a good example, so I'm going to pause it. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to turn this toggle off, because we went with the game option to be a toggle, which is going to function much better. And a long press will be Z for prone. Let's just delete that for now. And this would be the time that it's going to take to hold it. You can just experiment with that. The haptic intensity will be, you'll feel like a little thunk as you're holding that in. So let's test that. I click down, I crouch. And then I hold it, and I go prone. See, actually, it's behaving the same way. It doesn't take me out of the crouch when I jump up. Well, still, I would rather have it be the toggle in-game. So let's just verify. Yeah, toggle's turned off, okay. And then I'm going to... Okay, so we have crouch and prone, jump. Now there's something else just as far as getting into these activators. Now one nice benefit of the Steam controller is also it has these dual stage triggers. Full pull. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create just another duplicate for the full pull. But then if I hit select, it's this show activators. So I'm going to hit select. So I have regular press is my fire button. I'm going to do a long press, shorten it a little bit, be R for reload. Just to give you an idea of some of the stuff you can do here. So I squeeze, I fire. And you see the little square that comes up on top of my controller overlay? That's a full pull, normal pull, full pull. Hold it, then I reload. And it wasn't functioning quite correctly because I had hair trigger on. So you want to read through all of these. Hip fire normal. Soft pull is just how much I need to squeeze the trigger. I like to do two notches up just so it doesn't take much. But then this will mean that I can enable that reload without it hitting the fire. So fire, full press fire. There, you notice the difference now. I didn't accidentally fire. I just hold it in and then it goes to the reload. So fire, 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 full press fire, quickly, we're firing, full press hold, bam, reloading. So that's your dual stage triggers. Now on this left trigger, that, I gotta, yeah, see, I'm so used to. I'm gonna change this to make sure it's my left joystick. I'm actually gonna give it an outer bring right. We'll come back to this. Just better. Okay. So the full pull on the left trigger is slowing time in this game, which is pretty cool, but I think I want to make it so when I hold that trigger in the whole time, it's slowing time, and then when I let go, you know, kind of like what I want to do is I want to turn this toggle of the button into a hold. So first what I would probably do is, yeah, just make sure that there wasn't a hold option in here, and there's not. So let's go in here, and I can show you this one. So you can see we have hip fire normal. I'm going to take this. It's kind of funny too, just coming into this from so long, I'm seeing all the little things that I've changed over the years. So we have aim down. So alright, we have the full pull is caps lock. I'm going to hit select to show my activators. Instead of a regular press, I'm going to go with a start press. I'm going to turn the haptics off because I don't really want to feel them for this. I'm going to add another one. I'm going to go to release press, hit the binding, go to caps lock. I'm going to turn the haptics off. And that's really all I'm doing. So what's happening is as soon as it recognizes that I've pushed the button, it's going to fire caps lock once. And then as soon as it senses that I've released the button, it's going to fire caps lock again. So it's turning that toggle into a hold. So now we aim down sight, we hold, time is slowed down, I let go of that full pull. Hey, look at that, it worked. Slow down time, let go of that full pull, normal time. Feels great. Regular press, long press, and then just showing that start and release to turn a toggle into a hold. But you also have, if you go to add activator, double press, and chorded press. So double press is pretty self-explanatory. That's just going to be, let's go, double press is just for the hell of it. We're going to make it jump. I'm going to take that time up a little bit. This is just sort of because I know my preference. So I'm going to raise that. So I double press and then I jump. Normal press is crouch. Whoops. See, I actually turned that into... Yeah, let's do that again. Add a new one. Double press. Jump. So what I did was I had replaced... I changed it from the regular to the double. So now we have regular, long press, double press. So we have crouch, long press, prone, double press, jump. Yeah, we're going to turn this one button into doing 4 different things. So we can add another, let's go with chorded press. And let's make this, let's make it shoot. Chorded button, so this will be while I'm holding this other button. Let's make a right bumper. So when I'm holding right bumper, I want you to modify this left grip to be fire. For here, I'm just going to make a long press be... This is an empty binding. This is incredibly useful, just as far as general bindings. So this is saying, hey, still do this when I press it once, switch to item 3, but when it's a long press, don't do anything. Because I've already made this connected to the grip. So I don't want this button by itself to do anything on a long press. So, get back in here. Push it once, we go to 3. Actually, this will work. So we push it once to go to 3, hold it, and then I press this grip, and it just threw the grenade. And that can be just to kind of bring it full circle with that empty binding. I often will use that in a game that doesn't cancel sprint while you're aiming down sights. This game does, so I don't have to worry about it. But like, I have this outer binding on my stick. If you look at the where I'm moving, once I get to here, it's shift. Just to demonstrate. So we go into here, joystick move. Outer ring binding was left shift. If we go into additional settings, we can change stick response curve, all that kind of stuff. We could make this a larger circle. Like right now, think of it like it's a ring on the outside. You could also invert it to make it like a circle in the middle that does something. So we're going to leave that as it is. Hit select for show activators. Let's go chorded press. Let's go just to demonstrate. Let's go, yeah, this will be kind of interesting. So while I am holding Left trigger soft pull, I want you to jump instead of sprint. So we have sprint. Okay, I'm holding left trigger, jump, jump. So you're starting to see what you can do here. I mean, your possibilities really start to become endless. But that works great. Like, you know, as I was saying, which actually I think this game had it originally. That's why I had this run set. Yeah. I was going about it like this was before chorded activators even existed. I was creating this whole other action set, which is basically saying, change everything about the controller when I go into this set. Like, I have flying controls. But I don't even need to do that anymore. Because they changed some of the controls of the game. And even if they didn't, I could just do it simply now with this chord, you know, and then instead of jumping, I would make it be an empty binding. So, hey, when I'm aiming down sights, don't try to sprint. Just don't do anything. But you can start to put all of these together. So, all right. We went over all the different activators, dual stage triggers. There's one other interesting thing, just to give you an idea. So, like, over here on the mouse, I'm going to delete F as a click. I'm just going to make it an empty binding. But on this mode shifting basically means when I do this, when I push this other button, change all of it, which can get a little confusing because it is kind of like the chorded activator. So I'm going to go make this a D-pad when my mode shift button is right pad click. I'm going to make it 4-way, no overlap. Leave that empty. Go to additional settings. Outer ring binding be my interact key. I'm going to invert it so it's a circle in the center. I'm going to take it down maybe to here. And then I'm going to up this dead zone. So basically what I just did was I'm making a circle around here. So I'm saying on these edges, do these D-pad clicks. In the middle, it's going to be F. Because it's an outer ring binding that has been inverted. Like, I know, Steam, Valve doesn't like to make it easy. This is all pure engineering lingo. Software engineers. So let's make this like 1. We'll go 2. I'm not even sure which buttons are in here. Make this 4. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 around the outer clicks. F is in the middle. So now I click. Up was my 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's nothing there. And middle. Actually, let's turn controller HUD on. See if it shows me. Yeah, 2, 1, 3, 4, F in the middle. And this is one where it's like, okay, vehicle controls aren't bound in. I can't steer. Car, boat. Yeah, see, I could just rebind it. Okay. Yeah. So, alright. That gives you some extra options there. Now, one other thing with when you have the mouse pad, we can also do a double tap. So let's go double tap F. I'm going to make high, haptics high. I usually put this around the D and the duration. This will be how quickly, you can see my thumb, like how quickly you tap it. I usually like to make it be a pretty quick tap, just so I don't accidentally push it. But let's okay. And then it's showing you like the little tap. So now when I double tap, instead of having to click it, that feels pretty darn nice. It's another little fancy thing that only the Steam controller can do. Or actually, you might be able to do that on the DS4 pad. I don't have too much experience with that. So, all right. I realize it's long and it's all over the place, but there's so much to go over. So, acceleration, I mean, I'm not going to go over all these settings. Some of this stuff, dig in here, start playing with all the settings. I'm just trying to give you like a crash course to understand some of the vocabulary, some of the options, and how much you can really adjust everything on this controller. Like, I'm going to take this smoothing down because it's feeling a little sluggish. Maybe to here. Edge spin would give you like a continuous movement if you did that. Minimum movement threshold will mitigate like little jitters that you feel on the right pad. If you want a different sensitivity when you're aiming down your trigger, you know, you could just left trigger pull dampening. You can do right trigger. You can do both, soft or full. And then this slider bar will be how much the sensitivity gets changed. You could give it a touch binding, which can be useful when you get into like action layers, which we haven't even touched. I'm trying to get through all this other stuff first. But really, before we get into that stuff, the other thing I wanted to go over though was gyro. One of this controller's strengths is its gyro. It's very accurate. So I have this set. When I touch the right pad, turn this gyro on. Sensitivity. Let's take this smoothing down and let me give it a little bit of a minimum movement threshold. Gyro lean point. Let's crank this up and I will explain to you what this does. Gyro lean left and right for Q and E. So, if you see this, the little gyro symbol under my controller overlay, when I roll the controller, yeah, you can add extra things like right could be reload. And let's actually make it require a pretty far tilt. So now when I lean the controller to the right, it's reloading. And it gets a little unruly because like the gyro is still moving all over the place. So I actually kind of moved away from using that a whole lot. What I mainly do now I'm just going to take those off, but I just wanted to show you that as an option. What I would usually do, though, for my leaning is I've put them on here. And this has ended up feeling really nice to me. So now when I click left and right to lean, so action layers and action sets, those are both ways to change the controls of everything. An action set, I would do more like, you know you want to change almost every control. An action layer, like let's go, so all right, we're going to add an action layer, yabba dabba. So these are my sets, which like this, actually I know I'm not going to need that, but we're going to keep it up there just so I can explain, though, what happens here. So, all right. Yabba Dabba is my action layer. Let's make this a direction pad. You click. We want to go on here. This is your change action set or action layer. So I'm going to go to Apply action layer. Okay. Yabba dabba. This would give me a visual notification that I'm switching and a beep. I'm going to turn these off for... no, let's just leave them on. So, okay. Then in Yabba dabba. Okay, you see how everything's kind of grayed out? That's because it's inheriting all the bindings from its parent. That's one of the benefits of action layers, which was a newer thing that got added in after action sets. Actually, it was quite a while, like a couple years, I think. It was a long time. So now I go in here on this click. I'm going to make it remove action layer. Yabba dabba. Okay. Then you can see how that changed. So, what else could I, like, let's say in Yabba dabba we switch right trigger is aim down mouse, just to give you an idea. So now you can see that's the only thing that changed. Let's make this be button 1. So now it's switched. And then if I wanted to undo it, I could simply push X to remove. And now it goes right back to inheriting what was there before on this default layer. So we go click, we're in Yabba dabba. Now that the right trigger is my aim down sights. Now we're back on default. So that is an action layer. See, these, everything is bolded because everything has, you know, once this is created, you're going to have to edit everything that you change. And if, you know, it's like an early access game and controls changed on the game, so you just wanted to like switch something major, well, it's not gonna be inherited the way the action layer is. So I would recommend usually go with these action layers. They're much more flexible. But I think that will pretty much do it. I mean, I understand it's a lot of information, but I just wanted to try to get this out as sort of a 2019, nearly 2020 controller is nearing the end of its current lifespan. If you're just coming into it, you know, I wanted to go over some of the binding options, some of my preferences, just give you some teases of what you can do with the controller. That's really pretty much what I would be doing, is I would just, you know, get myself into an empty map where I don't have to worry about a multiplayer match and start testing all the controls. And then once I got everything feeling good here, then I would start moving on to, where is it? One of the vehicles, wherever the hell they are. Yeah, like then I would start testing controls on that. And then once I got that all nailed down, then I would create an action layer and start testing controls on helicopters and airplanes. And then once you start figuring out, you know, what's working for you, like in these templates, you know, like I've created some of, you know, like what I like for my first person shooter if it's all mouse and keyboard. Where I have, you know, dual trackpad, I got some dual stage triggers, my long reload, my edge clicks on the right mouse pad. I have one, you know, that's just all gamepad, where I like to have nothing fancy, just the 2 pads for joystick move. But that's, you know, a little further down the road. It's, you know, you're going to need some time to get used to the controller first. But all right, I mean, I think that's all I got. It's a long one. I knew it was going to be. But even if you're coming at it where you don't want to be creating your own profiles, it's good to at least understand the options that are available to you in here, and, you know, just specifically that you can like tweak the sensitivities on the mouse. You can change how the gyro behaves. You can change the curve of the analog ranges. You know, there's all kinds of stuff. I'm still coming up with crazy new things to do, and when I do, I always try to share them. So, yeah, that's it. Welcome aboard. Have fun. Hopefully I didn't give you a headache. All right. See you around.